The night was quiet. Too quiet. The colony hospital stood at the edge of the settlement, its walls glowing faintly under the cold blue lights. Most patients were asleep. Machines beeped in slow rhythm and the corridors were empty. Only Dr. Hayes, the night doctor, was still awake, finishing his reports. He rubbed his tired eyes and sighed. It had been a long day. He thought the night would pass in silence. But then he heard it, a sound, a soft voice, almost like a whisper. At first he thought it was the wind against the windows. The storm outside had been growing stronger, rain striking the glass in steady bursts. But then he froze. The voice came again. "It hurts. We're hungry." Dr. Hayes turned in his chair. The words were so faint he almost believed he imagined them. But no, this was real. The whisper echoed through the empty corridor, carried by the silence of the night. He stood up slowly, his heart beating faster. "Hello, is someone there?" His voice echoed back at him, no answer. Only the hum of machines. He walked into the corridor. The lights above flickered, buzzing like tired insects. His footsteps echoed against the walls. Again he heard it. "It hurts. We're hungry." This time the voice was closer. Small. Fragile. Like a child's voice. Dr. Hayes felt a chill run through his spine. The hospital had no children tonight. Not a single patient under 10. So where was this voice coming from? He followed the sound, step by step. Each corner felt darker than before. Every shadow stretched long and thin. Then, at the far end of the corridor, he saw them. 2 little girls. They stood close together, holding each other's hands. Their clothes were dirty, torn at the edges. Their hair was tangled, sticking to their pale faces. They looked thin, too thin, like they hadn't eaten in days. Their eyes lifted slowly and both whispered at the same time. "It hurts." "We're hungry." Dr. Hayes stopped, his breath caught in his chest. "Where did you come from?" he asked, trying to sound calm. The girls didn't answer. They only stared at him with hollow, tired eyes. He stepped closer. "Are you lost? Did someone bring you here?" No reply. The smaller girl, maybe 6 years old, clung tighter to her sister. She winced as if in pain, then whispered again. "Please, hungry." Dr. Hayes felt both fear and pity at once. His doctor's instincts pushed him forward. He knelt down, lowering his voice. "All right, come with me. I'll get you food. Don't be afraid." The girls looked at each other. For a moment it seemed like they might run away, but then slowly they nodded. He led them back toward his office. The girls followed silently, their bare feet making no sound against the floor. He noticed something strange. The security cameras in the corridor flickered when they passed. The lights above them buzzed louder. He frowned but said nothing. Inside his office, Dr. Hayes gave them what he could find: bread, fruit, water. The girls ate fast, almost desperately. Yet even after finishing, they still looked hungry. Their thin hands trembled. Their eyes glowed faintly just for a second as they swallowed. Dr. Hayes blinked. He thought he was imagining it glow. No, maybe it was just the reflection of the light. He sat across from them, watching closely. "Where are your parents?" he asked softly. The older girl finally spoke. Her voice was calm but broken. "No parents." "Then, how did you get here?" He pressed gently. The girl lowered her head. "We ran away." "Ran away? From where?" Both girls looked at each other again. Then they leaned forward together, their voices trembling but united. "Don't let them find us." Dr. Hayes felt his stomach tighten. The words struck him like ice. Who is looking for you?" But the girls went silent. They pressed their lips shut, shaking their heads. He tried again, but no answer came. Only silence. Outside, thunder roared. The storm raged on, stronger than before. The hospital lights flickered again. Somewhere in the building, a power alarm beeped for just a moment before going quiet. Dr. Hayes stared at the 2 children in front of him. Something was very wrong. They weren't ordinary lost children. He could feel it. The strange whisper. The glow in their eyes. The flickering power. He felt a shiver down his spine. Who were they? And why did he feel that something or someone was coming for them? The girls huddled closer together. One of them lifted her head, staring at him with eyes too old for her small face. In a voice barely louder than the storm outside, she whispered again, "Please, don't let them take us back." Dr. Hayes knew one thing in that moment. His life and the quiet life of the colony was about to change forever. The storm outside grew stronger. Rain pounded the windows. Thunder rolled like drums in the sky, and the lights in the hospital flickered again. Dr. Hayes sat in silence, watching the two little girls finish the last crumbs of food on the table. They had eaten bread, fruit, and even the emergency nutrition packs, yet they still looked hungry. Their eyes, wide and hollow, carried the same message as their whispers. More, more, more. The older girl licked her lips, her small hands trembling. The younger one pressed her stomach and whimpered softly. It hurts. Dr. Hayes felt unease crawl into his chest. No child should eat this much and still look starved. Something was wrong. Very wrong. He leaned forward. Girls, what's your name? The older one hesitated, then spoke in a low, almost broken voice. My name is Ilara, and this is Mina. Mina. The younger whispered, almost hiding her face. All right, Hayes said carefully. Ilara, Mina, I need to know where you came from. Did you run away from another colony? From a transport ship? Ilara looked at Mina, then at him. For a moment, her expression was empty, unreadable. Finally, she shook her head. No ship. No colony. We escaped. The word hung in the air like a blade. Escaped, Dr. Hayes swallowed. Escape from who? Ilara's lips trembled, but she didn't answer. Mina leaned closer to her sister, burying her face in her shoulder. Both girls stayed quiet, like the very question itself was too dangerous to answer. The doctor exhaled slowly. Something was haunting these children. Something bigger than hunger. He stood and walked toward the medical scanner. I'll just check your health. Make sure you're okay, he said, keeping his tone soft. The girls did not resist. They climbed onto the scanner bed. The machine hummed, its lights sweeping over their bodies. Hayes watched the screen as data appeared. Then his blood ran cold. The results were impossible. Their heartbeats were too slow, far below a human child's normal rate. Their blood contained strange patterns, fragments of energy signatures not found in humans at all. Their cells seemed unstable, like they were consuming more than food, like they were feeding on energy itself. Hayes rubbed his forehead. This can't be right. He ran the scan again. Same result. He stared at the girls. They sat there staring back at him with calm, empty eyes. For a moment, he thought their pupils glowed faintly again, just like before. Mina suddenly whispered, hungry, and the overhead light above them flickered. Hayes froze. He looked at the ceiling, then at the power monitor on the wall. The hospital grid had just lost 3% energy in seconds. It was as if the building itself had fed them. His hands shook. What are you? He muttered under his breath. Ilara tilted her head. Her small voice was sharp, almost warning. You shouldn't ask. Hayes stepped back, his mind racing. If this was true, these girls weren't normal. They weren't just lost children. They were something else. Something that didn't belong here, but his heart argued against his mind. They looked human. They looked scared, and they whispered with pain, not malice. Could they really be dangerous? Hayes poured them more water, though he knew it would not help. Mina drank, but it did nothing to ease her. Finally, Ilara spoke again. Her voice trembled as she looked at him with tired, desperate eyes. We don't want to hurt anyone, but we can't stop. The hunger never ends. Hayes felt his throat go dry. Then what do you eat? What do you need? For a moment, silence filled the room. Then Ilara answered in words that sent a chill through him. Not food. Not water. We eat what keeps this place alive. Hayes froze. His gaze darted to the power monitor. The energy dip. The flickering lights. It all made sense now. The girls weren't starving for bread or fruit. They were starving for energy itself. Before he could ask more, Mina clutched her stomach again, her small voice breaking into sobs. Please, please, it hurts. Hayes knelt down, trying to comfort her. It's all right. We'll figure something out. But in his mind, fear twisted tighter. If they consumed energy, how long before the entire colony noticed? How long before someone came looking for them? As if on cue, an alarm rang faintly in the hospital. Not loud, but enough to send a spike of dread through him. A system alert, power drain detected. Hayes looked at the screen. The drain was centered near his office. Right here. Right now. The girls sat silently, holding each other. Their faces pale, their eyes glowing faintly once more. Ilara whispered, almost like a confession. They will come for us. They always come. Hayes stared at them, his heart pounding. Outside, thunder cracked like a warning. He knew one thing. Whatever these girls were, they were not safe. And neither was he. The storm outside raged louder, but inside the hospital, silence grew heavier. Dr. Hayes sat at his desk, his eyes locked on the glowing scanner results. The numbers didn't lie. The two girls sitting quietly in the corner were not ordinary children. Their cells carried fragments of alien code. Their bodies drew strength not from food, but from raw energy. The power grid had already begun to weaken since they arrived. Hayes's hands trembled as he scrolled through the readings. "This is impossible," he whispered. But deep down, he knew it was real. The girls, Ilara and Mina, watched him with calm, unreadable eyes. Mina leaned her head against her sister's shoulder, whispering softly. "I'm tired." Ilara stroked her hair gently, but her gaze never left the doctor. There was something in her eyes. Something old, far older than a child should carry. Hayes tried to push down the fear in his chest. He opened the colony's database, searching for answers. If these children were here, there had to be some record of them. Missing reports, family names, anything. But the search returned nothing. No records, no files. Not a single trace of Ilara or Mina in the colony. That's when he noticed something strange. A hidden file. Buried deep in the system. Locked behind heavy security clearance. Its name made his stomach twist. Experiment 17A. Hayes hesitated. He was only a doctor. Accessing military files was forbidden. But his curiosity and fear pressed him forward. He bypassed the warning screens, heart pounding as the file opened. The screen filled with old reports, blurred photos, and cold scientific notes. His eyes raced across the words. Subject development, human-alien hybrid. Objective, survival adaptation for hostile environments. Test failures, instability, uncontrolled hunger. Hayes felt his breath catch, his worst fear confirmed. These girls were not natural. They were made, one image stopped him. Two small children in hospital gowns standing together, holding hands. Their faces pale, their eyes wide. Even in the blurry photo, he recognized them. Ilara and Mina, the report continued. Result, partial success. Stable form achieved, but high energy dependency remains. Emotional responses stronger than expected. Containment necessary. Hayes closed his eyes, his chest heavy. These were not just lost children. They were experiments. Someone had built them, and someone was still looking for them. Suddenly, Ilara's voice cut through the silence. "You shouldn't read that," she said softly. Hayes looked up, startled. You knew?" Ilara's expression didn't change. "We were not supposed to exist," Mina whimpered quietly, clutching her sister's hand tighter. Hayes pushed the screen away, shaking his head. "Why would they do this? Why make you?" Ilara lowered her gaze. For the first time, she looked like a child. Not a mystery, not a threat, just a little girl burdened with too much pain. They wanted soldiers, she whispered. Children who could live where humans cannot. Children who never die of hunger. Children who can survive anything. Her voice cracked at the last word. Mina hid her face as if ashamed. Hayes felt anger burning inside him. Soldiers? These weren't soldiers, they were just children ripped apart and remade by people who played God. He spoke gently. Ilara. Mina, you're safe here. I won't let anyone hurt you. But Ilara shook her head. Her eyes glistened in the dim light. No one is safe. They will come. They always come. As if to prove her words, an alert beeped faintly from the hospital security system. Hayes turned to the monitor. A message flashed. Unauthorized personnel approaching perimeter. His stomach dropped. Who? He whispered to himself. Ilara's voice answered him like a shadow. The ones who made us. The lights above flickered again, the storm roaring outside like a warning drum. Hayes's mind raced. He had uncovered the truth, but it was more terrible than he imagined. These children were living proof of a secret that could destroy the colony if revealed. He stared at them. Two little girls, frightened, fragile, yet holding inside them the power to drain an entire city. And now the people who had built them were coming back to claim them. Hayes clenched his fists. He was only a doctor. But he knew one thing. He couldn't let that happen. Not again. The storm howled as the security alarm rang louder. Shadows moved across the window glass. Soldiers. Hayes' heart pounded. He had discovered the hidden truth. Now the real nightmare was about to begin. The storm beat harder against the windows as the hospital lights flickered again. Dr. Hayes stood frozen, staring at the glowing alert on his monitor. Unauthorized personnel were inside the colony's perimeter. He didn't need to guess who they were. He already knew. The girls sat huddled in the corner, their small hands gripping each other tightly. Ilara's eyes met his and her whisper was steady, almost resigned. "They found us." Hayes' heart thudded. "No," he muttered. "Not yet. We still have time." He moved quickly, shutting off the computer screen, locking the files. His mind raced. What could he do? He was just a doctor. No weapons, no soldiers under his command. But he had two choices: give the girls up, or protect them. And he knew deep in his chest he couldn't hand them over. The sound of heavy boots echoed faintly down the hall. The soldiers were already inside. Hayes' breath caught. He turned to the girls. "Follow me," quietly. The girls obeyed, clinging to each other as they crept behind him. Hayes led them through the back of his office into a service corridor rarely used at night. The air smelled of dust and old wires. Mina stumbled, whispering, "It hurts." But Ilara helped her up. Hayes pressed his finger to his lips, urging silence. They reached the basement stairs. Hayes guided them down into the dark lower level of the hospital, a place used mostly for storage. The old lights buzzed weakly, throwing long shadows across the walls. "Stay here," Hayes whispered. "Don't make a sound." The girls nodded, but their frightened eyes clung to him like a lifeline. He crept back toward the main hall. Already he could hear the voices of the soldiers. "Search every floor," one barked. "The subjects are here. Don't let them escape." The words struck Hayes like a blade. Subjects. They didn't even call them children. Two shadows appeared at the end of the corridor. Soldiers in dark armor, rifles at the ready. Hayes stepped forward, trying to look calm. "What's going on?" he demanded. "This is a hospital. You can't just storm in here." The taller soldier turned toward him, visor glowing. "Where are they?" Hayes swallowed. "Where are who?" "The runaways," the soldier snapped. "Two girls. You've seen them." Hayes forced his face into a mask of confusion. "I don't know what you're talking about." The soldier stepped closer, towering over him. "Doctor, don't play games. This is classified. If you're hiding them, you're interfering with government property." The word burned in his ears. Property. They weren't even human in the soldier's eyes. "Just experiments." Hayes clenched his jaw. "I haven't seen any children." The soldier studied him for a long moment, visor glowing like an unblinking eye. Then he turned to the other. "Search his office." Hayes' chest tightened. If they went down to the basement, they would find the girls. He had to act. "Wait," he said quickly, stepping in front of them. "If you're looking for runaways, maybe they went outside. I heard something near the west wing earlier." The soldiers hesitated. One looked at the other. Hayes' words had bought him seconds, no more. A sudden noise broke the silence. From the basement below, a faint hum like wires buzzing. The soldiers stiffened. "Downstairs," one barked. Hayes' blood turned cold. They had heard it. The soldiers moved toward the basement door. Hayes panicked. He grabbed a metal tray from a nearby cart and slammed it onto the floor. The crash echoed through the hall. The soldiers spun back toward him, weapons raised. "What are you doing?" One shouted. Hayes raised his hands. "You don't need guns." "I'm unarmed." Their rifles stayed fixed on him. His chest tightened. He could only pray the girls stayed hidden. But in the basement, Ilara and Mina huddled close, whispering. Mina's stomach growled painfully and the lights around them flickered. Energy drained into the air as if pulled by invisible hands. Ilara held her sister. "Stay quiet. Stay quiet." But Mina couldn't stop the hunger. The hum grew louder. Sparks flickered from the old wires. One of the soldiers frowned, hearing the faint crackle. He started down the basement stairs. Hayes' heart stopped. He had to stop them, somehow. "Wait," Hayes shouted. "Don't go down there," but it was too late. The soldier froze halfway down the stairs. His visor flickered. His armor lights dimmed. The energy around him seemed to drain. He stumbled, clutching the rail. What's happening?" he gasped. Hayes' eyes widened. The girls were feeding again, uncontrolled. The second soldier aimed his rifle. "Doctor, what's down there?" Hayes' breath caught. He couldn't answer, because the truth was clear. The girls were no longer hidden. Their secret was spilling into the air, consuming everything around them, And now the soldiers knew exactly where they were. The hunt had begun. The basement was alive with strange energy. The wires along the walls crackled. Lights flickered like dying stars, and the air itself seemed heavy, almost vibrating. Dr. Hayes stood frozen at the top of the stairs as one soldier staggered, his visor glowing weakly. The other soldier raised his rifle toward the shadows below. "Ilara, Mina," Hayes whispered urgently. "Stop, you're draining too much." The humming stopped. The girls crouched together in the corner, frightened. The light in their eyes dimmed as if they were trying to control themselves. The soldier caught his breath, steadying his weapon. "So it's true," he muttered. "The subjects are here." Hayes stepped in front of the stairwell, blocking their path. "They're not subjects. They're children," the taller soldier scoffed. "Children? You think those things are human?" "They are human," Hayes snapped. "I've seen their scans. They're alive. They feel pain. They're not monsters." The soldier's visor tilted toward him. "Doctor, you have no idea what you're protecting." Hayes's jaw tightened. "Then tell me. What are they?" The soldier hesitated, then lowered his voice. "They're not runaways. They're not orphans. They are property of Project Horizon." Hayes' eyes narrowed. "Project Horizon?" The soldier continued, words sharp like blades. "A classified program. Years ago, when we discovered alien DNA, the government decided to use it. We spliced it with human embryos, testing if hybrids could survive conditions that would kill normal humans. They wanted soldiers, explorers, survivors." Hayes's chest tightened. "You experimented on children?" "Not children. Creations," the soldier corrected coldly. "They were grown in labs, not born in homes. The two you're hiding, Ilara and Mina, were the most successful pair. Stable, strong, able to feed on energy itself. But the hunger never stops." His voice dropped lower. "If you don't control them, they'll drain this colony dry. Every light, every machine, every life support system, gone. You think they're innocent, but they're living weapons." Hayes shook his head in disbelief. "Weapons? They didn't choose this. You made them this way." The soldier's silence was answer enough. Hayes felt anger burning inside him. "You turned children into experiments, and now you want to drag them back like lab rats?" The soldier raised his weapon. "They were never yours to protect." At that moment, Mina's frightened voice rose from the shadows. "We didn't want this." Everyone froze. Her small voice echoed in the basement, trembling but clear. Ilara stepped forward, her hand holding her sister's. Her eyes glowed faintly in the darkness. "We didn't ask to be made. We just wanted to live." The soldier's grip on his rifle tightened. "Stay back." But Hayes moved first. He spread his arms, shielding the girls. "If you want them, you'll have to go through me." The soldier's visor glared. "Doctor, don't be a fool." Hayes's voice hardened. "No. The fools are the ones who thought they could play God." For a moment, silence filled the room. Only the storm outside spoke, its thunder shaking the walls. Then the second soldier stepped closer, his voice quieter, almost uncertain. "Do you even know why they're always hungry, Doctor?" Hayes frowned. "Because of the alien DNA?" The soldier shook his head. "No, because their bodies were designed to pull energy from the strongest source available. Not just machines, not just wires. Living things." Hayes froze. His blood turned cold. "You mean?" "Yes," the soldier said flatly. "If they get too hungry, they won't stop at power grids. They'll drain humans too." Ilara flinched at his words. "No," she cried. "We would never." Mina buried her face against her sister, whispering through tears. "We don't want to hurt anyone." But Hayes could see it now, the fear in their eyes, the guilt. They knew it was possible. The truth struck him hard. The girls were not only victims, they were also dangerous, not by choice, but by design. Hayes's chest felt heavy, torn between pity and fear. He looked at the soldiers. If that's true, then why not help them? Cure them? The soldier's answer was sharp. Because they can't be cured. The only way to control them is containment. Or termination. Hayes felt his stomach drop. Containment. Or death. Mina began to cry softly. Ilara held her close, whispering, "Don't listen. Don't listen." Hayes clenched his fists. He looked back at the soldiers, his voice shaking with fury. "You don't get to decide that. Not while I'm still breathing." The soldier lifted his rifle higher, the glowing barrel aimed straight at the doctor. Then you won't be breathing for long. Hayes's heart raced. The truth had been revealed, but it only made the danger greater. The girls were hybrids, creations of a cruel experiment. Their hunger could destroy the colony. And now, armed soldiers were ready to end everything in a burst of gunfire. The storm roared outside as lightning flashed across the windows. In the basement, the air grew heavy again. The girls' eyes glowed brighter, their fear sparking energy into the room. And in that instant, Hayes knew the real fight was about to begin. The storm raged outside, louder than ever, but inside the hospital basement another storm was building. Silent, invisible, and far more dangerous. The girls' fear made the air vibrate. Sparks jumped from the old wires and the energy monitors upstairs flashed red. The system screamed, "Power drain critical." Dr. Hayes stood between the soldiers and the two children, his body tense, his heart pounding. The soldiers' rifles glowed, ready to fire. Ilara clutched Mina tightly, their eyes shining faintly in the dark. One wrong move, Hayes knew, and the whole building would erupt in chaos. The taller soldier barked, "Step aside, doctor. If you don't, you'll die with them." Hayes swallowed hard. He felt trapped. He had sworn an oath to protect life. But here life itself was the weapon. If he let the girls stay, the colony might lose its power. Hospitals, air systems, lights, everything could fail. People could die, but if he gave them up, he knew what containment really meant. It meant cages. It meant experiments. It meant death. He looked at the children. Mina's lips trembled as she whispered, "We don't want to hurt anyone." His chest tightened. They weren't monsters. They were scared little girls, victims. The soldier's voice cut through his thoughts. "Doctor, decide now." Hayes took a step forward, his voice sharp. "You made them. You used them. And now you want to erase them? I won't let you." The soldier raised his weapon higher. "Then you'll doom the entire colony." At that moment, the emergency alarms blared. The power grid had dropped another 10%. Lights dimmed across the hospital. Machines upstairs beeped in panic. Somewhere above, a patient's monitor went flat. Hayes's heart dropped. This was the proof. If the girls' hunger continued, everyone in the colony would be in danger. He turned back to Ilara. "You have to control it, please. Try." Ilara shook her head, her voice breaking. "We can't. When we're hungry, it just happens." Hayes ran his hand through his hair, desperation burning inside him. What choice did he have? The second soldier stepped forward, lowering his weapon slightly. His tone was quieter, almost pitying. "Doctor, you're a good man. But good men don't win wars. These things, they're not children. They're bombs waiting to go off." Hayes glared at him. "They're not bombs. They're my patients, and I won't let you kill them." The first soldier snapped, "Enough!" He aimed at Ilara. "Stand aside." Hayes' heart slammed against his ribs. He had no weapon, no plan. Only one thought filled his mind: protect them. He threw himself in front of the girls. "You'll have to shoot me first." The soldier's finger tightened on the trigger. Time slowed, then the storm outside crashed like a hammer. A bolt of lightning struck the colony's main tower, and for a split second the entire hospital went dark. In that darkness, the girls' eyes blazed bright. Energy flowed toward them like rivers of light, filling the basement with a ghostly glow. The soldiers stumbled back, shielding their visors from the sudden burst. Hayes turned, his face lit by the strange glow. "Ilara, stop. You'll kill the grid." But Ilara's voice was steady, calm in the chaos. "We're not doing it. The storm is feeding us." Hayes realized with horror that the lightning itself had become their meal. The colony's power surge had only made them stronger. The soldiers cursed. "We need backup, now!" The radios crackled, voices shouting orders. Outside, more boots hit the ground. Reinforcements were coming. Hayes felt the weight of the world pressing on him. He had discovered the truth. The girls could never live in peace here. Their very existence threatened everyone, yet they weren't killers. They were children, stolen from humanity and twisted into something else. They didn't deserve death. The real monsters were the ones who made them. Hayes clenched his fists. He knew what the commander would decide. The order was already given. Eliminate them. His mind screamed with the dilemma. If he kept protecting them, he might doom the colony. If he gave them up, he would betray everything he believed in. Mina's small voice broke the silence. Please, doctor. Don't let them take us back. Hayes felt his throat tighten. He knelt in front of them, ignoring the soldiers behind him. His voice was low but firm. I won't, I promise. He stood tall, turning back to the armed men. For the first time, his fear was gone. In its place was fire. You call them weapons. I call them children. And I will protect them, whatever it takes. The soldiers lifted their rifles again. The storm raged. The lights flickered. The colony trembled. And in that moment, Dr. Hayes knew. His choice was made. The world would burn before he let them take the girls. The hospital basement shook with the storm's fury. Lightning flashed through the small windows, thunder rolled like a drum of war. And the power grid groaned under the strain. Dr. Hayes stood tall, shielding Ilara and Mina with his body, as soldiers pointed their rifles at him. The tension was a knife's edge. One command, one trigger pull, and everything would end. But before the soldiers could fire, the colony commander's voice cracked through their radios. Do it! Eliminate them! The order was clear, cold, final. The soldiers raised their weapons higher. Mina whimpered, clinging to her sister. Ilara's eyes glowed faintly, her voice breaking. Doctor, please, Hayes' heart thundered. He had seconds to choose. Stop, he shouted, his voice fierce. You're not killing them. The soldiers hesitated, but only for a moment. Their fingers tightened on the triggers, and then it happened. The lights in the entire hospital went out. Total darkness swallowed them, broken only by the eerie glow in the girls' eyes, the air filled with humming energy, sharp and electric. The soldiers cursed, stumbling back, but Hayes didn't move. He could feel it. Something was changing. The girls weren't just feeding, they were transforming. Ilara, he whispered. What's happening? Ilara's voice was calm, almost too calm. We can't hold it anymore. The storm, the hunger, it's too much. Hayes' chest tightened. If they lost control, the colony would collapse. Everyone would die. No, he said firmly. You can control it. I know you can. Mina's small voice trembled. We don't want to hurt anyone. Hayes knelt in front of them, placing his hands on their shoulders. His voice was soft but desperate. Listen to me. You are not monsters. You're children. You're human. Ilara's eyes glistened. No, we're not. Yes, Hayes said fiercely. You are. And I'll prove it. He rushed back to his desk, yanking the scanner files onto the screen. Soldiers shouted at him, warning him to stop, but he ignored them. He pulled up the DNA data he had taken earlier. His hands shook as he cross-checked it with the hospital's genetic archive. Then his world shattered. The match was perfect. Not just to one record. To Ilara and Mina's DNA matched that of his wife, long dead. And the second match was his own daughter. His daughter who had died years ago in a tragic accident. Hayes froze, his breath caught in his throat. His hands trembled over the screen. It was impossible. But the truth glared back at him. The government hadn't just made hybrids. They had stolen his family's DNA. They had built Ilara and Mina using the pieces of the people he had loved most. He turned slowly toward the girls, tears burning in his eyes. My God, you're not just experiments. You're mine, Ilara blinked. What? Hayes stepped closer, his voice breaking. Your DNA, it's from my wife. From my daughter. They didn't create you from nothing. They created you from my family. Mina's eyes widened, tears spilling down her cheeks. We belong to you? Hayes knelt, pulling them into his arms. No, you don't belong to anyone. But you are mine. My blood, my family, and I will never let them take you. The girls clung to him, sobbing quietly. The soldiers stood frozen, their weapons trembling. One muttered, This wasn't in the files. Hayes rose to his feet, his face fierce. You hear me? These are not weapons. They are children. Children. The soldiers hesitated, fear flickering in their eyes. For the first time, their hands shook on the rifles. But the commander's voice boomed again over the radio. Enough! Finish it! The soldiers aimed once more. Hayes stood in front of the girls, his arms wide. You'll have to kill me first. The energy in the room surged. The storm outside fed into the walls, the wires, the very air. The girls' eyes burned bright, not with hunger this time, but with something stronger. Ilara's voice rang out, steady and powerful. We are not monsters. We are his daughters. The ground trembled. Sparks exploded from the ceiling. The soldiers staggered back as their weapons flickered and died. Their armor lights went dark. The girls weren't draining uncontrollably now, they were controlling it. For the first time, Hayes saw it. They weren't cursed. They weren't mistakes. They were more than human. They had chosen not to destroy. They had chosen to protect. Hayes's chest swelled with pride and sorrow. He knew the fight was not over. The government would never stop hunting them. But now he wasn't just protecting patients. He was protecting his daughters. The storm began to calm outside, the thunder fading into the night. In the silence, Hayes whispered to them, "We'll run. We'll hide, whatever it takes, but you'll never be alone again." Ilara and Mina held him tight, their whispers soft but full of hope. "We're not hungry anymore. We have you." And with that, the shocking truth was no longer a secret. The colony had gained a new mystery, and Dr. Hayes had regained a family he thought he had lost forever. But deep in the shadows, unseen eyes still watched, and the real war was only beginning.